everyone singing. How were you able to work with the actors to create that feeling so perfectly, that wonderful sense of harmony that everyone's just singing together? It was so perfect. How were you able to sort of bring all the actors together in that way?
I mean, ordinary working class people, that's what they did at the weekend. They went to the pub and sang. But during the war, they often not only sang in the tube while London was being bombed, they danced as well and had little things just to take their mind off the fact that London was bombed for 72 consecutive nights. And I heard Molly Malone when I was at primary school, and it's one of those Irish songs that just sort of, even as a child I used to cry. Every Thursday we used to have to sing the song, collectively in the entire class. And I remember us learning that and the old folks at home. And I always used to cry when we sang because I just thought it was so sad. And I don't know where it came from. I thought if we see and hear someone singing and all these people are just waiting for the blitz to stop, it will be powerful. And what you have to remember that in the British psyche, the war looms very large, because that was the last time the whole country came together, literally, and for 18 months we were the only country in the world fighting Hitler. And had he invaded in 41, we would have been literally occupied. So it opens up a great deal of sort of national psyche memory there. Because we really were very close to being defeated. And it was actually it was also the last time that Britain was important. So that's where you see a lot of stuff about the Second World War, because we're completely unimportant now. As Gore Vidal said about Britain, it's not a country, it's an American aircraft carrier.
What went to the decision of picking Rachel Weisz?
Well, I'll tell you. This is true, honestly, I swear. My manager's there and he'll confirm it. I don't go to the movies very often now. I can't suspend my disbelief. And I don't watch much television either. And as I got bored with reading one, I thought, oh, sod this, I'll switch on the television. And there was a film already on. It's been on for half an hour or something. And this girl came on with these wonderful eyes and this luminosity that she'll have when she's 90. I said, I'll wait till the end of the film. And it said, Rachel Weisz. And I rang my manager and said, have you heard of someone called Rachel Weisz? And he said, you're the only one who hasn't. So I said, please send it to her. She read it, she rang me. I said, if you say no, I don't know who I'll ask. Will you do it? She said yes. That's how it happened. Oh, could you shout though, please? Could you shout?
Yeah. Do you see a connection with the House of Mirth in which the man, although charming, is too weak, is not able to stand with the woman, and also there's kind of this disapproval of what the heroine is doing in society?
Well, I think there is a big difference. Lily Bart's a victim. She's a victim of society which she thinks she understands but doesn't. What's extraordinary about reading about New York and the Belle Epoque was that the top 400 families are in a blue book, and there were these vast amounts of rules that you were supposed to obey. No one told you what they were, but you had to obey them. Lily thinks she knows what they are, but she doesn't, and it literally destroys her. Bertha Dorset can play the game like that, but she's not that clever. She thinks she can get by on charm, and you can't. And it destroys, in that sense, she's a victim of that very well-heeled, very vicious society, because really House of Mirth is a satire, and it's savage, and I think it's her greatest book. The difference here is that this is basically an ordinary bourgeois woman who was married, and like most people then, they didn't know about sex. It's not as ubiquitous as it is now. And she married him probably because he was charming and kind and cultured, and probably thought, well, that's what marriage is. Until at 40 she meets this pilot and falls head over heels in love with him, and it's sexual love. She has sex and an orgasm for the first time at 40, and she's not alone. Thank you. That was a joke. And that overwhelms her. And she's at the end, she's not a victim, and it's not self-sacrifice. What it is actually true love. She comes to true love, and true love is saying, if you're better off without me, then I'll let you go. And that's really hard to do. It's really, really hard. It's only happened in my life when my mother died in 97. And I loved her with all my heart, and I wanted her to be there forever. No, I never wanted her to die. And she was 90, and the last time I saw her, she just had her hair done. And I sat with her and I said, you know how much I love you. You're the love of my life. I'll die loving you. And held her. And she said, I love you too. And we just sat together. And I thought, I wanted her to stay, but she didn't want to. I thought, no, that's selfish. I'm being selfish. And that taught me a great deal. And I think when people are in love, truly in love, it's not a bad possession, it's not a bad jealousy. It's, as Eliot puts it, love is most nearly itself when here and now cease to matter. Oh, Tom Hiddleston. Well, it was really difficult casting Freddie because younger actors in England now have this attitude that you have to change the dialogue to fit yourself. And you have to say, no, would you please repeat the dialogue that I've written? Or they use this awful English called estuary English, which is a glottally stopped awful. It's just awful. And you say, no, it's received English of the period. They didn't talk like that in 1952. They take not a blind bit of notice of you. And I saw a lot of people. And this particular day, we were driving over to the audition rooms in Soho in London. And I was Holborn, which is about 5-10 minutes away. It's a huge traffic jam. So and I've got a terror of being late. I really get terror. I thought, I can't be late. And I said, I'll get out of the car, and I ran all the way. I got into the audition room, and Tom had already arrived. I said, I'm sorry. I said, I'm dreadfully sorry. And they said, no, I was late as well. And we began reading the scene. And as soon as we began reading, I just thought, we found Freddie. Because just simple things, which appear easy, like coming in, dropping something down, and then throwing yourself on a sofa and saying lines. It looks easy. And believe you me, it's not. Most young actors, well certainly the actors I saw in London, couldn't do it. They just couldn't do it. And they didn't have the sense to feel the period. It's not just a question of knowing what the period may or may not, but you've got to feel it. And these actors, of course, they're only 30 years old or less, and they don't know what the 50s was like. But it was quite shocking to have someone just forget, just throw all my lines out of the window, and you keep on saying, look, I'm sorry, these are the lines. Would you do this if you were in a play by Shakespeare? No, you couldn't, because you actually wouldn't be able to make up iambic pentameter. That's what you don't do. So there's a lot of that. And you always get one or two who bristle. Tom wasn't one of them. He was lovely. I say to all of them, I say to their agents, there are times when I give line readings. If your client does not like being given line readings, don't send them. There's no point. They'll get cross, and I'll say, well, you were told, your agent was told that no, there will be line readings. But you always get one or two. And you can just hear it at the edge of the voice. Fine. And you can see them seething. Or they get their revenge during the shooting. On one particular, it was actually on House of Mirth, one of the actors, who shall be nameless, came into my office and said, I've just measured my Winnebago and it is 2 inches shorter than anybody else's. And I said, we are talking about a Winnebago. That went down like a lead balloon, I can tell you. I thought, I'm astonished that someone could take the trouble to measure a Winnebago. It beggars belief, but you always get one or two who are really strange. One man I did not cast in House of Mirth, again, who shall be nameless. I was waiting an hour at a hotel in Los Angeles. It just doesn't turn up. I thought, well, sod this for a game of soldiers. I'm going home. Anyway, I go out front of the hotel, and he's in this car, this big convertible. He said, where are you going? I said, I'm going home. You know, you're an hour late. Don't you think I've got better things to do with my time than hang around? He said, no, don't really don't get angry. He said, I'll do something now that will really interest you. I thought, oh, please God, let it not be a magic act, because you know how depressing they are. I thought, if he takes a hat out of a rabbit, I'm definitely going home. And he presses this button, and the top of the car goes up and then goes down. I said, oh, tingle. That's really made my day. Some of them live in a world of their own.